Hey everyone, this is Ahab Dev. As a solo game dev, both proficient in 3D art and programming, up until now, my focus has been on creating characters, editor tools, and others for the Unity store. However, I've recently started taking on commissions for character customization, fixing, and more. As I delved into this new area, I discovered a vibrant market dedicated to VRChat avatars, which piqued my curiosity about how these characters are made and what the current trends are. This led me to start a new series where I review VRChat avatars that I've purchased in order to learn some details behind them and promote my own skills. Let's dive into it. First off, I want to clarify a few things. If I'm reviewing an avatar, it means that I already consider the artist behind it to be skilled. I wouldn't spend $40 on subpar work. However, if I later discover significant issues with the files, I'll seek a refund and move on. If the problems are minor, I'll review the avatar with the intent of being as constructive as possible. I'm not here to throw baseless hate or shame anyone. We're all constantly learning and growing. I will properly label any video containing more critical feedback so viewers who prefer to avoid harsher criticism can opt out. About the scope of these reviews, these are meant to be surface level, focusing on the most obvious points in areas where I have the most expertise as a 3D artist. My goal is to provide valuable insights for anyone considering hiring me or buying the character directly from the creator. Of course, there will always be people with more knowledge or differing opinions, and that's perfectly fine. I encourage constructive feedback in the comments. Let's keep the conversation educational and helpful for everyone. Lastly, I strictly adhere to each creator's terms of use for their avatars. I do not redistribute any avatars I review, and this video falls under YouTube's fair use policy for educational content. Thank you for your understanding. Let's start with the body. The UV mapping is pretty standard, which means it should be easy to find compatible skins on platforms like Booth. Its humanoid shape would make easy for me or anybody else with the right skills to adapt any kind of clothing for it. The facial UVs combine all the meshes in that area into a single UV, which can be tricky, but I understand the rationale. Personally, I'd separate smaller details into their own dedicated UV maps. On a positive note, I really like the mesh work on the eyes, especially the star-shaped iris spark. A nice touch. One thing that caught my eye is the hand-painted hair shadows on the face. While this does make the character look more polished at first glance, it could cause issues when the hair moves in certain directions. This is an artistic choice, and it works here, but it's something to keep in mind. As for the hair itself, the weight painting is well done. Hair rigging and weight painting is one of my specialties, so if you ever have issues with it, feel free to hire me with confidence. Here is a small demo about a work of mine. I was a bit surprised to see that the face is a separate skinned mesh. I'm not sure if this is standard for this artist, common in VRChat, or specific to this avatar. My guess is the artist uses a base mesh with integrated shape keys, which is a smart approach that I sometimes use myself. It could also be intended to make head swaps easier, though the distinctive style of this avatar might complicate that. Regardless, if you wanted to swap heads and maintain proper weight painting and shape keys, it's definitely doable with the right skills that I happen to have. Now, I'll demonstrate how I would seamlessly attach this head, or any other, to this body. If the head you want to swap has its own bones, I'll ensure the armatures are properly fused together. If it also comes with its own shape keys, I'll make sure to retain and integrate those as well. This is the result. As I said, I could seam to this body any kind of humanoid or furry head. The ears and tail are a single-skinned mesh set, with the ears themselves having an eye-catching design. However, I wonder if the inner fur could be in a different way, like using a less detailed mesh, since it doesn't appear to be specifically rigged. Retopologizing this would be tricky due to the high triangle count non-convertible to quads by standard procedures, so it would require a focused effort for minimal poly count reduction. On a side note, I could retopologize it, even having an account this triangles, but as I said, there's no much room to improve here. The tail's resting pose in the T-pose is a bit unconventional, making it more time-consuming to rig new tails or props. The whole bone chain should be straight to rig well other tails. While not difficult to fix, it's still a minor inconvenience. I assume this pose was chosen for better default animation in VRChat, though it's not a standard base pose. I have a passion for working with 3D garments. They're the soul of any character design. In this case, the color balance and overall design are quite remarkable. Let's break down each garment in terms of topology and rigging. I didn't contact the artist to confirm if everything was made from scratch or if kit bashing was involved at some level. Personally, I have no issue with kit bashing and using third-party assets. Criticism of it often comes from misconceptions about game development. In any case, the sales page claims is an original model from scratch. The lower part of the pants showcases the artist's ability but raises the age-old debate of artistic vision versus performance. Sometimes, compromises are necessary to avoid either being stuck in development hell or delivering an underperforming product. The pants here are a perfect example of this trade-off. They look great, but there's some details could be omitted. The same happens with quite some other minor details here and there. The weight painting, however, is excellent. No complaints there. Now, let's examine the bikini top. It fits well with the overall design. Initially, the topology might seem like a potential issue. If we look at the vertex view for both the body and bikini top, we'll see that the loops match, a common practice for creating simple body wrapping garments. This is particularly useful for hands, but less ideal for other body parts, where retopology is usually better. Let me show you a brief example on how usually is done. Was the artist lazy in this case? Not at all. Upon closer inspection, both the body and bikini top have shape keys to modify breast size, ensuring smooth morphing. This is a very smart approach. The hoodie also features shape keys to adapt to different breast sizes. After examining its UV map, I see there's some potential to improve the poly count slightly. However, the risk of losing detail and the time it would take to not only retopologize, but also recreate the shape keys from scratch makes it impractical to commission this type of work. The more reasonable approach would be to focus only on the major areas while preserving the original shape. Even then, we might only reduce the polygon count by about half, which is around 3,000 polygons. Not a significant enough gain to justify the effort. And no, this isn't something you can simply fix with a low poly remesh and a baked normal map. It's great as it is. The straps are visually appealing, but once again, there's a compromise with poly count. Could they be retopologized? Possibly, but it would require significant time and investment, and the poly count reduction might not justify the effort. It's not something I'd recommend for this particular case. So either you take them or you remove them. Its rigging is quite basic, functioning well as tight clothing or a bodysuit, so there are no issues at all. It could easily be attached to any other biped character with minimal effort. Stockings now. The color combination on the stockings enhances the design. Again, great work by the artist. The hand-painted wrinkles are a nice touch, something that can easily be replicated in Substance Painter. I often do this for both my realistic characters and anime ones on the asset store. Here, let me show you a brief example. If you need this kind of work, always ask for portfolio samples to ensure quality. Finding people specialized in this software is difficult, so it's important to be sure you contact the right artist. Personally, I consider myself competent for basic standards of quality, as you just saw with my examples. Back to the stockings. Retopologizing them could be an option. The high density around the knees likely improves rigging, but I wonder if a lower poly count could work? Let's test it out. Here's a retopologized version. As you can see, it's possible to maintain the correct UV map dimensions after retopology, ensuring compatibility with the original texture. You just need to know what you're doing. That said, I have to admit that since the original texture was likely painted in Substance Painter over a different polygon density, some lines may not align perfectly. However, the texture itself is fairly simple, so creating a new version would be straightforward. After transferring the weights, we confirm that the retopology successfully reduced the poly count by half, while preserving the appearance and smooth rigging. This shows that the high polygon density wasn't necessary to achieve the desired result. Still, this is just a cherry-picked example to showcase my retopologizing skills mostly. To be fair, the overall quality of the garments the artist used is much better than many of the individual assets sold for kit bashing, where the original creators often don't mind performance at all. Finally, let's discuss the separation of skinned meshes into multiple instances. The artist has provided the proper setup here in Blender, giving a solid foundation to work from and make decisions on how to proceed. I'm not certain if there's a more performance-optimized version in the Unity file, but since this review focuses purely on the 3D model within Blender, that doesn't impact my analysis. If we wanted to optimize the skinned meshes directly in Blender, we could combine them and delete any occluded parts. This would be the most performance-efficient approach, though it can be somewhat destructive to the original body mesh. To mitigate any concerns, it's wise to keep a clean backup version of your avatar. Alternatively, shape keys could be used for specific cases, such as creating a full-body occluding shape key for role-playing scenarios, like undressing for swimming in VRChat. In this avatar, each garment already has shape keys for different functions. Personally, I find the criteria for applying them a bit eclectic. Regardless, it doesn't affect the overall quality. In conclusion, this is a gorgeous character with notorious design and a clear demonstration of the artist's skills. While there's room for performance optimization, it would require some artistic concessions. Judging purely on vision and execution, I'd give this a 5 out of 5. If you're interested in the character, you can purchase it from the original author. Link in the description. I have no affiliation with the artist. If you'd like to hire me to assist with your avatars in a technical way, applying any skill sets shown in the video and more, check out my Fiverr account. Link also in the description. If you want your avatar featured in this series, you can contact me and share your work, provided it has enough content to review and you have the rights to share all of its parts. Rest assured your files will remain private, but please note I won't return them optimized for free. Otherwise, I'll continue purchasing avatars for review. If you want me to review a third-party avatar, please don't illegally redistribute it. Just sponsor me by covering the cost of the avatar and the hours behind a video of this type, and I'll purchase it myself. This series will feature around 3 characters in its first season. Thanks for watching.